Okay, hello everyone. We are here doing a ParentPreneur podcast, and we have Amanda here.
Yes,
She's
hi,
doing
Amanda.
something which is a marriage of two different ideas and philosophy. So I'm going to leave it to her instead of I butchering it.
Yeah.
So Amanda, can you share what you do exactly?
Yeah, so my main role here in Singapore is as the director of Lift Clinic,
Lift
which
Clinic.
is Singapore's first metabolic health clinic.
Metabolic health clinic. Okay.
Yes. So what we do is we basically test, diagnose, and optimize on anything related to lifestyle medicine. So improving your sleep, your exercise, your nutrition, even your social connections. We help
Social
you
connection.
avoid risky substances and thrive.
You see, she's sitting upright. I also feel very inclined to sit upright also.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good influence here. Good
Exactly. I
influence.
try. I aim to influence.
So it's really taking effect. That's how fast it works. So let's start with the idea of two different businesses. You said earlier you operated a gym and your husband operated a clinic.
Yes.
So
So
how
my
did the
husband and I
idea-
are lifelong entrepreneurs. So he went to medical school. That was not part of his entrepreneurship journey, but he went to medical school, went into the polyclinic system, hospital system, realized immediately that was not going to work for him.
Okay.
So he bought himself out of his loan using a loan,
Okay.
and he started his first business. And that business is a chain of GP clinics that still exists today called Medical.
Intermedical. Okay.
And through Medical, he developed the passion and the knowledge for entrepreneurship that really kind of set the stage for what we would do next. In the meantime, in the background, I was running my gyms. So I had a gym here in Singapore in Tiong Bahru. I closed that gym, opened another location during COVID,
Okay.
closed that location, and thought the next one, it needs to be with my husband. We had such scintillating conversations around the dinner table around health, and particularly around the fact that it couldn't be medicine and it couldn't be exercise and it couldn't be nutrition in silos.
Oh.
It
okay.
had to be all of that
together.
co-managing a patient in the same room. And that's still our model today, that when we work with a patient,
Yeah.
we're both in the room. Every party that's a stakeholder is involved. So if it's someone that has a partner, the partner's in the room. You know, if it's someone that has kids,
Yeah.
we program around the kids.
Ah.
We make sure that everything that we do is realistically in that person's life. It's not just this medical prescription that exists, you know, in an ideal reality.
So I've got a question, because running a business together with partners, it's
It's real. It's real.
I don't even need to say much, huh? Yeah. So there's a lot that requires of you finding that balance. What's your advice on that?
Oh gosh. I mean, I will say it is rather seamless for us.
Yeah.
Because that was always the vision. So I think if you didn't envision working alongside your partner, it can be a real wake up call when that happens. But we built toward it, and it wasn't completely unforeseen. But I will say, it's difficult to separate work from home a lot of the time.
How do you snap out of it?
Yeah. Oh, date nights. And that sounds so cheesy, but it's true. I mean, we obviously really, we structure everything in our lives because we have 3 little kids under 6 years old. So we have to structure everything
Structure everything, huh?
by a timeline.
So I'm asking on behalf of my own journey, because I'm
Yes.
trying to integrate my wife into this as well.
I love
So
it.
there's this, I come from a community where structure is frowned upon.
Okay.
It tells you that, oh, you are robotic, you are rigid, you're not fun, you're not cool.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I never claimed to be fun nor cool. So maybe it was easy for me to let go of that identity post haste. But may I offer a different perspective?
Yeah, please.
One of my favorite all-time quotes. In fact, I almost had it tattooed. Maybe I will in the future. Discipline is freedom.
Discipline is freedom.
Discipline is freedom.
Tell me more.
When you remove the burden of chaos and constant decision-making from your timeline, you actually have a lot more freedom to do the things that you want to do.
Wow.
And without structure, you do descend into chaos.
So, dear, if you are watching this, we need to talk about discipline and structure.
Discipline is freedom. You
Yeah,
heard it here
discipline
first.
is freedom. You heard it here.
And
Cool.
I think people who have made that journey toward a little bit more structure, toward an environment that is supportive of
It took us a while to get into having a synced calendar.
that. If we were talking like one step, practical steps, syncing your calendar with your partner is a huge one and an overlooked one. an overlooked one. Do you color code?
Yeah, I color code.
Got to color code because we've got our kids. Kids have a color.
She's still using all orange. I have like a color code system.
Oh, you got it. Okay, so maybe your wife is my husband, Imran. Maybe the two of them need to be on this conversation together. But yeah, joining forces in the structure is one way to establish a structure. And again, reframing it as something that gives you more freedom and control, because it really is hard when everything around you is questioned, right? What are we doing today?
Yeah.
What is the outcome of by the time we go to bed tonight, what do we want to have happened?
Yeah.
And constantly asking that question every day is time consuming and wears you down. When you wake up in the morning and you both have the purpose that you're aligned toward, it makes the whole day a lot easier to get through.
So what do you think is one practice that your family has that you are not seeing in your own circle?
I mean, being the exercise family, because we are kind of the exercise people. Someone commented on my Instagram the other day. She's like, you were out at the park this morning, and then your kids were on a play date this afternoon. Yeah. And, it was like us in the ball pit with the kids. And she was like, you're so active. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I would say activity, physical activity at a high level is something that we do differently from other families. We don't have a lot of sitting down time. We don't have a lot of screen time. We don't have a lot of, just video games or anything like that. We really are physically active most of the day.
You have Netflix subscription?
So we have Netflix. Do you want to know who's the main user? It's me. It's me, folks, because I like to watch my Netflix while I do get my steps in.
Oh, okay.
So I will say we do have it, and it is mine. Cool. I claim it.
So yes, I think a lot of the couples, especially as you enter parenthood, I speak for myself, not a lot of couples, a lot of habits that you had or routines that you had, you just drop it altogether, and then you're like, okay, how do we pick this up again? Yeah. How do you advise that?
Step by step. Step by step. In the previous interview, I overheard the interviewer ask, what's the one piece of advice you would give to entrepreneurs starting out? And it's the same piece of advice that I would give to new parents. Don't neglect your health. Don't neglect your health. If there's one thing that has to drop, like you said, because the reality is things of our previous life have to drop, right? That's just the reality. I don't travel half as much as I used to now because I can't get my 3 kids on a plane. It's from time and money alone, it's not possible. But the thing you never can let go of is your health, because that is something that you need to take care of your family. And without it, you will struggle in the future. You will become a burden on your children. You will actually disadvantage your kids in a way that you would never if you knew that you had the control over it at this age. So I would say the one thing you can do today to make sure that you hold on to your health is to bring back physical activity into your life if it has gone.
Has there been any couples that you work with that you have helped them with that transition?
Oh yeah. And again, primarily I do work with moms. I will say, so women are the primary audience for what we do. It just, women do tend to be more proactive in seeking preventive health care, which is our type of health care. But absolutely, we've seen families that, used to sleep in on Sunday mornings, for example, start going to bed earlier on Saturday nights and then wake up in time for a walk on a Sunday. And now they have a family walk, where previously it was just a family sleep-in. So there are definitely ways where if you think about environmental triggers, because it wasn't actually that they didn't want to walk. Yeah. It's that they were exhausted from bedtime the night before, right? So they reorganized one trigger, and the cascade effect was that they all got healthier.
But the excuse that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like on 24/7.
Yeah.
I need that Sunday sleep-in.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's what I'll say to that. This is very similar to the early postpartum period. The early, where it's like, wouldn't it be nice to get a full night's sleep? But that's not possible because I'm feeding an infant every 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that's not a reality I live in. And the reality of startups may be that as well.
Yeah.
But there is always a minimum non-negotiable. There's always a basement, right, that you can still maintain in the hardest of times. For me, in the early postpartum period, it was getting outside in the first hour of the day. So, from sunrise, that first hour of the day with my baby, to at least step outside into the sunshine. I would get a 20-minute walk with my baby strapped to me. The two of us would experience daylight together because we'd been experiencing night for the previous 12 hours. And it reset the day. That was my non-negotiable. There's habits like that.
There are folks that came to me and say, every hour is, for a startup, is oxygen for the business. So taking away that 1 hour is very, very painful for them. How would you advise those folks?
Yeah, again, I mean, those folks are prepping for a heart attack, right? You got to breathe, meaning you need to also be able to take time for your health. I would say that parallel works even in a more stronger and literal sense for your own physical health.
So
the business will not die without you. It will not, but you will. You're the only commander of your own health.
So no matter what, you have to reel it in.
Yeah.
And make it a non-negotiable.
Yeah, define your minimum standard. And again, your minimum standard, my minimum standard, anyone in this room, it could be very different based on our circumstances, but it can't be zero. It can't be nothing.
Cannot be zero. Cool. Let's ask from the audience. The one talking very engrossed one. Do you have any questions for Amanda? Yes. Yeah, let's go.
When is the best time to get the kids started to join us with our exercises, and how do we get them started?
I love that. When is the best time to get kids involved in exercise? As early as you can, as soon as you can. Today is a good start. If not today, tomorrow's second best. There is no, I mentioned literally walking with my baby in the sunshine in the first few weeks of his life. In the first few months of his life, we would go on bike rides. Again, still strapped to me, and I'd be on the bike riding. My kid would be in the little bike seat on the any wheel. Like, as soon as you can start integrating them in physical movement, please do. They love it so much. There is nothing a child wants more than to move their bodies, except to move their bodies with you.
Yes, sure.
So there are a lot of parents nowadays that they want to actually structure their sleep for their child, and they're saying like, I don't want to bring them out because I want them to sleep exactly at the nap time because sleeping is the best way to grow them physically as well as the what. But if you're going over outside, like there is no set timing, no good space for them to kind of.
Sounds like raising livestock. Grow it. Need to sleep.
Yeah. So maybe Imran, you can phrase my question.
Okay.
Like the specific question is like, how do you kind of derive that balance, and do you actually see sleep being more important than going out?
So basically, Eldred, what he's asking is that he don't want to run around to kids for so long because he's tired. Okay, so he rather the kids sleep so he has to chill a bit.
Yeah.
How do you advise parents like that?
I mean, here's what I'll say about sleep. It is my hill to die on. So everybody in my household is on a sleep schedule.
Ooh.
And again, Amir knows this because he interviewed me before. There's nothing more important to a child's routine than them having the proper amount of sleep at the proper times of day. And obviously that changes as they age. But being familiar with sleep science and being able to know what how those evolving structures should look is important. And what's really great about that is that it actually makes you reflect on your own sleep pattern. If you observe what works for a child, right? Building sleep drive, daytime sleep only in the proportion that will encourage nighttime sleep, all of these things. It's the same for us, right? We are not that different. We're just older. So when you improve a child's sleep habits, you can actually use that opportunity to work on the whole family's habits.
Hope that answers the question. Don't just send him to sleep. I know every parent, they do that a lot. Lazy, want to send out the kids to play. Let's put him to sleep.
Asking for a friend. Right?
Asking for a friend. So yes, I think there's a lot of questions, but I think we didn't get much chance to ask about, I think with all the sessions, we didn't get to ask much about how different cultures approach this balance. Have you seen any differences?
Yeah, I mean, I can share, so I live in an intercultural, intergenerational family. So my husband is Singaporean Chinese and I'm American Caucasian. So I've observed lots of differences, many of which were unknown to me. So back on the sleep issue, I did not realize that sleep training wasn't something that everyone did. So the first time that my husband's mother, so my mother-in-law, heard my baby crying and I wasn't attending to it, that was real. It was real. It was a point where I heard her running up the stairs, and I said to my husband, I was like, "You gotta throw the block on this, because this is not the time for me and Amma to get in a discussion. This is time for you and your mother to discuss boundaries. And so it was definitely, there were conversations and negotiations that happened within our families, given the different cultures that we grew up with. But honestly, and I give them a lot of credit, my parents-in-law, they were receptive to that. And I think part of that is because I am a foreigner. I don't know if we were in the same culture, if it would have been received as well, right? Sure. Because it's like, well, you know what this is, versus like, hey, crazy foreigner, I don't know what the F you do, but whatever, on most stuff. But what I will say is there's often a lot more wiggle room than you think in terms of intercultural communication. And if you just present with curiosity and interact with, intelligent discussion and try not to get too emotional about those differences, I do feel like there's a lot of compromise to be had.
A lot to learn, a lot to digest as well. So I think talking to you makes me excited to jump back on the tracks. 2.4
Yeah,
is
get
going to
back
be
in
a
it.
reality this year. So stay tuned.
Yeah, sub 10.
Yeah, sub 10.
Gold standard is where we
Gold
target.
standard. Thank you
Shoot
so
for
much,
the moon.
Amanda.
Thank you.